He had everything money could buy: luxury cars, private jets, a name that commanded respect. But on a cold, rain-soaked evening, one small moment shattered his entire world. A millionaire stopped his car because something felt wrong, and within minutes, he would discover a truth so painful that it would bring him to his knees in the middle of the street. This is not just a story about wealth or loss, it's about a mother forgotten, a son who ran away, and a reunion that came far too late. Stay with this story until the end, because what happens next will change the way you look at your own life. He almost didn't stop. 1 second more, one blink, and he would have driven past her forever, never knowing that the old woman eating scraps in the rain was the reason he existed at all. Of the rain poured relentlessly, blurring the city lights into long, trembling streaks. Adrian Hale sat in the back seat of his black luxury sedan, staring blankly at his phone while his driver navigated the traffic. Meetings, contracts, numbers, his life was a constant race that never slowed down. At 42, Adrian was a self-made millionaire, admired and feared in equal measure. People called him cold, distant, untouchable. And maybe they were right. As the car slowed at a red light, something outside caught his eye. On the sidewalk, beneath a broken bus shelter, sat an old woman. Her thin coat was soaked through, her gray hair plastered to her face. She held a small plastic container, shielding it from the rain as she ate with trembling hands. Each bite looked like it took effort, as if even eating hurt. Adrian frowned. He didn't know why, but his chest tightened. "Stop the car," he said suddenly. The driver hesitated. "Sir?" "Stop." The car pulled over. Adrian stepped out, the rain immediately soaking his expensive suit. The old woman looked up, startled, her eyes wide with fear, eyes that had seen too much suffering. "I'm not here to hurt you," Adrian said gently, surprising even himself. "Why are you out here in this weather?" The woman lowered her gaze. "I didn't want to bother anyone," she whispered. "I was just hungry." Something about her voice, soft, broken, cut through him. He signaled his driver, who brought an umbrella. Adrian offered it to her, but she shook her head. "You'll get sick," she said. "You look important. People like you shouldn't stop for people like me." Adrian swallowed. Everyone matters. He insisted on taking her to a nearby cafe. Inside, the warmth made her shiver even more, as if her body had forgotten what comfort felt like. She ate slowly, carefully, apologizing after every bite. Adrian watched her hands, scarred, worn, familiar in a way he couldn't explain. "What's your name?" he asked. The woman hesitated. "Mary." The spoon slipped from her hand. Adrian picked it up, and when their fingers touched, a strange memory flashed through his mind, his childhood, a lullaby, a woman humming softly while holding him during storms. He shook his head. "That was impossible. Do you have family?" he asked. Mary's eyes filled with tears. "I had a son. Long ago." Adrian's heart skipped. "What happened?" he whispered. She looked at him fully now. "I was poor. Sick. His father left us. One night. I had to leave him at a shelter. I promised I'd come back when I was better. But by the time I returned, he was gone." The cafe felt suddenly too small. Adrian's breathing grew shallow. "What was his name?" he asked, his voice barely steady. Mary's lips trembled. "Adrian." The world stopped. The rain outside faded into silence. The clatter of dishes disappeared. Adrian stood up so fast his chair fell backward. His legs felt weak. "No," he whispered. "That's not possible." Mary looked at him closely now, her eyes searching his face like she was looking at a ghost. "Adrian," she whispered. "My Adrian?" His composure shattered. Tears he hadn't cried in decades burned his eyes. "It's me," he said, his voice breaking. "Mom, it's me." The moment she touched his face, the millionaire who never cried collapsed, because no amount of money could buy back the years he had abandoned his own mother. Mary's hand shook as she reached for him. "My son, my baby," she whispered, touching his cheek as if afraid he might disappear. Adrian fell to his knees in front of her, right there in the cafe. He didn't care who saw. He didn't care about his reputation. He sobbed like a child who had been lost for 40 years. "I thought you didn't want me," he cried. "I thought you left me because I wasn't enough." Mary pulled him close, holding his head against her chest. I searched for you, she said through tears. I never stopped. I just ran out of strength. Years of anger, loneliness, and silent pain poured out of Adrian. All the nights he slept hungry as a child. All the times he told himself he didn't need anyone. All the success he built to prove he mattered, none of it filled the hole she left behind. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I should have looked harder. They left the cafe together. Adrian took her to his home, a mansion that suddenly felt empty without her. He gave her clean clothes, warm food, a bed softer than anything she'd known in decades. But what healed her most wasn't comfort, it was belonging. Days turned into weeks. Adrian canceled meetings, ignored calls, and sat with his mother, listening to her stories. Stories of love, sacrifice, regret. Stories that money could never replace. One night, Mary grew quiet. She held his hand and smiled softly. I can rest now, she said. Fear gripped Adrian. Don't say that. She passed away that night, a peaceful, warm, love. At her funeral, Adrian stood before a crowd and spoke through tears. I spent my life chasing success, he said. But I was poor until I found my mother again. He later opened shelters for abandoned parents and children, naming them Mary's Promise. He visited them often, sitting with people in the rain, just like someone once sat with him, because sometimes, the greatest wealth isn't what you earn, it's who you remember before it's too late. If you still have your parents, call them. If you've been hurt, heal before it's too late, and remember, success means nothing if you lose your soul along the way.